never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Find another.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Happy Friday to everybody out there. Hopefully you've got some big plans this weekend, which includes Alternative Pro Wrestling in Royston, Georgia tonight, and SWA Wrestling in Eastonolly, Georgia tomorrow night. And I'm sure just about everybody is planning on watching the big game coming up on Sunday afternoon on into Sunday evening. But if you follow the channel, you know that yesterday here on the channel, I talked about Big 12 quarterback play in the year 2022. And I said that I wanted to go ahead and talk about it so we could close the door on the 2022 college football season. And I'll tell you why I said that coming up here in just a matter of moments. But first, don't forget to go to prizepicks.com and enter the keyword Ref Brandon, because that is your chance to double your deposit up to $100 just by entering the keyword Ref Brandon at prizepicks.com. But the reason why I said in yesterday's video that I wanted to close the door on the 2022 college football season and go ahead and start looking forward to the 2023 college football season is because today here on the channel we're going to talk about some win totals, because one day last week 24/7 Sports put out their prediction on all 14 teams in the ACC win total. So I figured today we would talk about that. As always, if you have any thoughts or comments on it, please feel free to let me know. And if this 24/7 Sports prediction is correct, then my man Mike is going to be extremely happy. You'll find out why coming up here in a few moments. But first, at the bottom of the barrel in the ACC in wins, according to 24/7 Sports, is Virginia. Now, they have the Cavaliers with an over-under of 3.5. And if that's correct, they're pretty much telling you they're going to be the same exact team they were this past year. Because this past year, I believe they won 3 games, but they had a couple of games get canceled. So we'll never know whether or not they could have won those games. But basically 3 wins last year, 3.5 in the 2023 football season, according to 24/7 Sports. And if that's the case, the people in Charlottesville, or as they like to say, Seville, are probably going to want Tony Elliott gone already, because they're a bad football team, but people want to see improvement. And if you win 3 games 2 straight years, that's not improvement. The next team on the list is Boston College, and 24/7 Sports has them picked to win 4 games. Now, a couple of years ago, everybody was very, very high on their young football coach, Halfley. And this past year, they were bad. And if they come out this year and they're as bad as this article says and they only win 4 games, then all of a sudden Halfley won't be loved anymore. The next team on the list is Virginia Tech. And they have them picked to win 5 games, which for the Hokies would be an improvement. Because this past year, they had one of the most god-awful offenses in the history of mankind. The teams they played could have not even put anybody on the field on defense and let the Hokies just run the offense against nobody, and they still wouldn't have scored. And the next team on the list is a team that I said is going to make my man Mike very happy, because according to 24/7 Sports, Georgia Tech is going to win 6 games. Now, 6 games is not very many. You're right at 500. But as bad as Georgia Tech's been the last handful of years, they would probably, right now, take 6 wins and just skip the season and just say, hey, we went 6-6. And if I asked my man Mike if he'd be happy with 6 wins, he would probably say, yeah. The next team on the list is Syracuse, 6.5. Then they have Wake Forest and Duke, both winning 7 games, which is very, very odd, because if you look on this list, they have Boston College exactly 4, Virginia Tech exactly 5, Georgia Tech exactly 6, and then they have Wake Forest and Duke both at exactly 7. And you really, honestly, truly don't see a lot of times where a team is picked to win an exact amount of games. It's typically like what they have with Virginia at 3.5 or Syracuse at 6.5. They do that on purpose for all the bettors in the world, because when these over-unders come out, if you're going to bet against a team or bet for a team, you have to bet over or under. And if it's 3.5, then you have to bet over or under, because you can't win 3.5 games. But honestly, if a team is picked to win 4 or 5, you can say it's a push, because they can win that exact amount of games. So it is very, very strange to see all these teams in the ACC that are picked to win an exact amount of games and it not be a half. But as you get closer to football season, if you're a bettor, then look at not just one certain conference, but look at all of America and look at every single team. And almost every team's win total is going to be something and a half, not an exact number, because Las Vegas doesn't make money that way. They make money by making you pick over or under. And if it's an exact total, an exact amount, you don't have to pick over or under. You could say push. So that is strange to see that many teams pick to win an exact amount of games and not a half. But next on the list is Pittsburgh. They have Pittsburgh and Louisville, both with 7.5 wins. Then they have Miami picked to win 8 games, which would be an improvement from where they were this past season. And then we have NC State and North Carolina, both 8.5 wins. And then the top 2, we have 2 teams, both picked to win 10.5 games. That's Florida State and Clemson. Now, if you saw the article that came out a few weeks ago, that was the way too early 2023 college football poll. And in that poll, Florida State was in the top 10. So I guess 24/7 Sports agrees with that, because if they win 10.5 games, they will be a top 10 football team. So according to 24/7 Sports, Florida State and Clemson are both going to be top 10 teams. If you win 10 or 11 games, you're going to be in the top 10. But if this is accurate, the only 3 teams in the conference that'll have losing records are Virginia, Boston College, and Virginia Tech. Starting with Georgia Tech, every other team in the conference will have at least 6 wins. So to have 11 of your 14 teams to be 500 or better is pretty good. But I hope for Tony Elliott's sake, Virginia wins at least 4 games, because he waited for a very, very, very long time to be a head coach. And I would hate to see him go to Charlottesville and in 2 years' time already be on the hot seat. But if they are as bad as this article says they're going to be, he will be on the hot seat. And last week, Mac Brown was complaining about North Carolina's schedule. And me personally, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I know the main reason he's complaining is because when John Swofford was the ACC commissioner, since he went to North Carolina, he gave North Carolina what they wanted all the time. Anything they wanted, they got. So they were used to being catered to. Well, now that John Swofford's retired, they no longer get what they want. So they no longer feel like they're getting preferential treatment, because they're not. But I've seen their schedule, and I don't see any reason why Mac Brown can complain. Now, the back half of their schedule, the month of November, is tough. But if memory serves, the first 8 weeks of the season, they play 1 road game. So you can't complain when you pretty much play at home the first 2 months of the season. It gets tough down the stretch. I'll admit that. The month of November is tough. They're going to have a hard time winning in the entire month of November. But it doesn't get much easier than pretty much all September and all October playing at home. They play 1 true road game. I believe it's the first 8 weeks of the season. But to me, their schedule is not bad, except for the month of November. But I don't know what's worse. Would you rather open the season and play all the tough teams, and then after that, it get easier? Or would you rather open up the season, the first 7 or 8 games, and have it made and play a bunch of easy games, and then end the season get tough? Or would it be better to like open up with the tough game and then play 3 or 4 easy games, and then play a tough game, and then play 2 or 3 easy games? So really, I don't know which would be the best way to do that. But I will say that their season ends with some tough games. But in September, and for the most part October, they've got it made. Again, any thoughts on this, please feel free to let me know. And of course, we'll look at all the other conferences as we get closer to the 2023 college football season. Don't forget about HFOTUSA.org. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at HFOTUSA.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. If Snoop Dogg dies before pot becomes legal in the U.S., he'll be rolling in his grave. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.